Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is What If Naruto x Yugao x Kushina x Mikoto Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Naruto and Tayuya are seen in the Hokage's office. They have been called forth by Lady Tsunade for a very important mission. It involved heading to Yuki no Kuni to help the famous actress Koyuki Kazuhana since she had asked the busty Sanin to ask which one of her male shinobi would like to star in her newest film which has yet to be named. Wow. That's actually pretty cool Ba-chan. I get to be in it with her. Naruto exclaimed in excitement. MMHM. That's why I'm sending you over to see the actress in Yuki no Kuni. Tayuya, Karen, Zombina, Kakashi and Might Guy will accompany you to make sure no one tries to, attack you since not everyone in Yuki no Kuni likes us. The Sanin explained. The couple couldn't help but jump in excitement. Naruto was going to be even more famous than he already was. So when do we leave Lady Tsunade? In a few hours. So go ahead and get ready because this will take several days. She'll shoot the first half of the movie in Snow Country and the rest will be here in Konoha. Then let's get going to Yuya. Naruto shouted before he and his girlfriend Shunshin away. With the two teenagers gone, Tsunade and Shizune are seen giggling their hearts out with perverted grins. Oh man, I can't to see that movie when it comes out. Tsunade laughed. Tell me about it. I wonder how the scene will go. Hehehehe. The medic grinned evilly. Konoha countryside. Naruto, Tayuya, Karen, Zombina, Kakashi and Might Guy are seen casually walking along the forest path heading out of Fire Country. Might Guy had heard about the reason they were going to Snow Country and he couldn't help contain his excitement. Yosh Naruto. Starring in a movie with someone as youthful as Koyuki-chan is most youthful indeed. The rest of the group sweat dropped at his overexcitement. What did he just say? Zombina asked Tayuya. Just ignore him and he will go away. Trust me on that one. Tayuya answered. Well, alright. Zombina said, shrugging her shoulder. Yosh. Zombina, you are indeed a very youthful young lady. I should get you to marry my student Leand. Zombina delivered a mock speed punch straight to Guy's jaw, sending him flying into the forest at a very high velocity. Never in a million's years would I get with that bull-headed freak. I already love someone else. She growled before returning to her calm self. She then turned to face Naruto and gave him a warm smile. Naruto and the others sweat dropped at how vicious Zombina had become. She was normally a very sweet and caring girl, but shit, who knew Guy would be the one to push her buttons with just one sentence. Kakashi, however, took note of what she just said. Oh, who are you in love with, Zombina? He questioned. Zombina turned to face Naruto, nodding at Tayuya and Karen. They all walk up to Naruto and embrace our lovable blonde bastard. Tayuya hugs him from behind while Karen and Zombina wrap their arms around each of his respectively. They all then him in unison, making the blonde blush. Kakashi went slack-jawed from this. Wait a minute, Naruto has 3 girlfriends? The 4 Chunin all giggled at Kakashi's question. Yes, we are all Naruto's girlfriends, Kakashi. Jealous. Karen teased. We are all going to bear his child soon, well except me since I'm a zombie sadly. Zombina added. I'm already 3 weeks in. Tayuya giggled, rubbing her belly. It's not just these 3 here, Kakashi, there's 2 more in my little harem. Naruto laughed. Huh, Kakashi cried out. You have a harem. Oh yeah, Kakashi, it's on orders from Lady Tsunade. She wants me to knock up all the pretty girls around the world, and how can I refuse such a thing? Who else is part of this harem if there's any? The masked Jonin asked. Well, there's Shizune, Kurenai and Yugao from the Anbu. They're already impregnated and I can't wait to be the father of their children as well as Karen's and Tayuya's. Kakashi couldn't believe what he was hearing. Out of all people, Naruto would be the one to have multiple girlfriends. Without saying another word, our favorite silver-haired Jonin falls over unconscious. Laughing at his predicament, the 4 Chunins then walk off. A few minutes later Might Guy emerges from the forest all battered and bruised from Zombina's monstrous punch. Holy flames of youth Kakashi, that Zombina hits harder than me. Kakashi. Kakashi. Seeing his rival knocked out, Might Guy only knew of one thing to do. 5 minutes later, we see the four teens casually walking in the forest road straight for Yuki no Kuni. They were talking when suddenly they heard some loud rumbling coming from behind them. Turning around, they spot a huge dust cloud being kicked up. What the ing shit is that? Yuya said. Naruto squints his eyes to see the unknown clearly. Before he could answer, a voice shouted out. Gangway. Ha 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 ha. The creator of the dust cloud is revealed to be Guy carrying Kakashi on his back piggyback style. He zooms by the teenagers at supersonic speed, covering them in dirt as he passed by them. What's the matter, slowpokes? Can't keep up with me. Ha. Let's go. The four teens just stared at the speeding form of Guy and Kakashi, each with a deadpan expressions on their faces. Grown men playing piggyback. It's almost disturbing. Yuya thought in disgust. That's just so wrong. Naruto thought with a sweat drop. Seriously. Karen thought in shock. Two grown men doing that makes Orochimaru look like a Care Bear king. Zombina thought. One day later, Yuki no Kuni. It's been a day since our characters have left Konoha to head to Yuki no Kuni. They disembark on the boat that took them there, and after several minutes of walking they eventually make their way to the Tojo Films studio where the actress Koyuki usually was. Walking up to the door, Naruto opens it. Walking in, they all gasped at how beautiful the indoor set for the film was. Wow, that's so cool, Naruto exclaimed as he jumped around the whole set. Pretty badass, I must say. I've never been to a movie studio before, Yuya said as she plays around with the cameras. Oh Naruto, you've finally arrived. A voice called out, making everyone jump in surprise. The voice was none other than Koyuki Kazuhana, the famous actress who was world-renowned for her Princess Gale films. Ever since Naruto and his team helped her a few years back, she has secretly been in love with the blonde, and when she laid eyes on him she was amazed at how handsome and mature he looked. Hey Koyu-chan. It's been a while. How have you been? Naruto asked in his happy demeanor. In a split second, Koyuki envelops Naruto in a tight embrace, his face smothered by her enormous double E size S. Naruto was unable to breathe. Damn it. Oh, I've missed you so much, Naruto, Koyuki said as she tightens her hug. Yuya, Karen and Zombina were giggling. Little did Koyuki know why Tsunade had sent Naruto specifically, and it wasn't really a movie they were going to shoot together, well, at least a normal movie. I can't breath. Naruto muffled as he began to turn purple from lack of oxygen due to the actress's massive S cutting off his oxygen. Hearing the blonde's cries, the actress let him go and laughed nervously. Oh, sorry about that, sweetie, I was just excited to see you is all. Don't worry about it, haha. I'm glad to see you too, princess. The blonde chuckled. Yo, how's it going, Koyuki? Kakashi greeted while reading his book. Hello, Kakashi. It's nice to see you again, the actress said while hugging the Jonin. Before she could greet the three girls, however, Guy appeared in front of her with an autograph book. Yosh, Princess Gale, it would be a most youthful decision if you sign this autograph book for me. Sure, I guess. It's always nice to meet a fan of my movies, Koyuki said with a sweat drop. After signing Guy's autograph book and conversating, Koyuki then left with Naruto to her private studio where they will film a specific scene in her unnamed movie. Naruto noticed that the redheads were all chuckling as Koyuki left with their boyfriend. Naruto didn't question due to his excitement at making his debut on the big screen. They make their way to the front door of the studio, and when they entered there was one thing Naruto noticed. For a scene it sure was a small set with a large circular bed in the middle, and there was only the sound guy and the director waiting for them. Naruto thought it was strange since he did visit sets from Koyuki's previous movies and there was a whole crew filming. He decided to remain quiet about it, however, and just played along. Koyuki walks up to the director and whispers something into his ear. Turning around, his eyes turn into stars when he spotted Naruto. Oh yeah, the kid is definitely going to help bring in more money for our studio. This will be great to film. The director thought with a mischievous grin on his face. As the cameraman and the sound guy were readying their gear, Koyuki beckons Naruto to come to her before she proceeds to lay on the bed in a seductive pose that gave Naruto an instant hard-on. The director called Naruto over and handed him the script for this specific scene. Naruto was laughing. It turned out Koyuki wanted to be in a porno with the blonde bastard and end it all with a cream pie shot bearing his child for real. Aha, so she heard about CRAEH. Well then I can show her a good time. The blonde thought with a grin. Alright you guys, speed, marker, and action. The director called out. Imagine this through the camera's viewfinder. Come to me, you handsome man, so we can have a scene of passionate love. Koyuki purred. Oh ho, I see your game. If that's what you want to play, then I won't hold back, Koyuki-chan. Naruto said before tossing the script aside and running straight at the princess and tackling her onto the bed. They begin a heated makeout session that had them practically ing each other's tongues and slurping and exchanging spit. Oh yeah, got me some prime footage here. The director cheered as he continues to peer into the viewfinder. Damn right, boss. The sound guy said as he moves the mic closer to the pair, getting a good signal of the slurping that was occurring. Eventually the two of them separated for air and gave each other loving looks. My Naruto, you sure know how to a woman. I'm wondering if you'd let me show you my skills in the bed. The actress said. PSH, I'd like to see you try, princess. Naruto said seductively. Let the begin. Before she could say anything, Naruto had drawn a kunai and cut all of her clothes apart, leaving the woman in her bra and panties. Naruto sure liked what he was seeing. Her body was marvelous, curvaceous, and that toned stomach. She sported almost as big as Zombina's, and they looked like they were threatening to tear through the fabric of the bra. Naruto wasted no time in cutting the bra straps, freeing the massive mounds. Wah, hey, that wasn't in the script, kid. Ya gotta follow it, the director shouted. Hey, I'm the one making love here. So how about you see if you can keep up with me? Naruto shot back before diving into the massive S. He began ing on them with the utmost efficiency and making Koyuki moan so loud that it was echoing throughout the studio. The director and sound man were amazed at Naruto's skill at titty-ing. Yaha, this is some great footage. Screw the script, keep doing that, kid. The director ordered. Oh Kami Naruto, you're so good at this. Koyuki moaned. You think my ing is good? How about I eat this wet right here? Naruto said, pointing at her. Ing, do it then, you naughty boy, Koyuki beckoned. Naruto did what he was good at. Eating. Without hesitation, Naruto dove straight into the actress's needy and began eating her, quite literally. He was biting at the labia majora and pulling back, making the actress scream out at the sudden pain from that. Oh god. Naruto, you're so good, honey. Naruto continued his onslaught and proceeded to do one thing he hadn't tried with his other girlfriends. He channeled some chakra into his hand and made it into a fist. Naruto. Why did you stop? Hey kid, why'd ya stop? Without a word, Naruto reared his fist back and proceeded to ram the entire thing into Koyuki's anus, making the princess scream at the top of her lungs. Oh god, yes. Oh hell yeah. This will win us an Academy Award. The director cried out. Naruto then used his free hand to take his shirt and pants off along with his undergarments. I hope you're ready, Koyuki, because I'm going to you so good you'll be ruined for all other men. The blonde declared before taking his enormous and proceeded to shove it straight into the needy wet of the world-famous actress. Holy god, yes. Koyuki cried out as Naruto began thrusting into her at such a furious pace while fisting the holy ing shit out of her puckered anus with such force that the entire bed was shaking violently. The director ran over with the camera to get a better view of Naruto's, since this kid was so hung that uploading it to the internet or airing it in adult theaters would make any other woman who watches this scene want to get a piece of the blonde. Damn kid, that's some impressive meat you're packing. The director said. Hey. Focus on filming this onslaught. Dear God, she's so tight. Naruto cried out as he continued to pump into the princess, who was now reduced to a stupid mess, much to Naruto's delight. He suddenly then flipped her over so they could be in the doggy style position, and I must say they both moaned out loud at the new feelings this position was giving them. Naruto continued to plow his endowment into her for a good 20 minutes before. Dear God, I'm gonna come, Naruto. Koyuki screamed as she lifts her head up to scream in pleasure, preparing herself to shower him full of her puss juices. Grr. Spray that shit all over my princess. Ah. Koyuki practically screamed like a banshee as she came for the first time in nearly 9 years. Never in her life has she experienced an orgasm this powerful, and it was decided right there that she wanted Naruto's meat scepter every day for the rest of her life. She came for a good 5 minutes before she stopped. The result was the studio floor looked like it was just flooded. Right there, Naruto had decided to pump his fist to such a pace that he almost got his forearm through the tight pink anus with a gush. I hope you're ready for another round of double penetration, princess. Naruto declared. Koyuki didn't even register what he said due to being in heaven from her orgasm, but before she knew it, she felt Naruto's fist pumping through her tight little, making her moan her off to the blonde's delight. He was ramming his big and his fist in her even harder than before. Uage. Koyuki groaned as she was unable to moan properly from being double stuffed. Naruto felt the familiar feeling of his orgasm approaching and picked up his pace of the anthole banging to such level that the director and sound guy were feeling the vibrations from how powerful his thrusts were. Hot damn, I can't wait for this to be in theaters. The director shouted in glee as he focused the camera on Koyuki's vagina, getting a good view of the furious session that was occurring before them. He adjusted the focus to make sure the viewing audience could see every fine detail of the sight before them. After a good 9 hours of endless vaginal and fisting, Naruto felt the familiar feeling of his orgasm approaching and was picking up the pace to a speed that he was literally a blur. The sound of him slapping against her luscious echoing throughout the studio. Urg. Gotta go fast. Naruto cried out as he simultaneously gave his final and fist thrust into Koyuki's and respectively, making the seemingly unconscious woman scream at the absolute top of her lungs that it couldn't be measured in decibels due to the frequency. Take my cum, Princess Gale. Naruto growled as his potent cum began flowing into the princess's orifice. The sheer volume flooding her within a matter of seconds and spilling out of her onto the flood with an audible splash. So good. Koyuki mumbled as she felt the cum showers subside. Urg. I guess that's it for this particular scene. Naruto said as he withdrew both his fist out of each orifice. Turning to the director, gave him his trademark grin before asking, so how did I do for my first time on camera? That was good shit, kid. Really, you did good. Out of all the porn I've shot, nothing can compare to that magnificent display of manliness. You got a huge Damn right. I got it all on audio too. Can't wait for this to hit theaters and IMAX everywhere. The sound man said with his eyes turning to Ryo Signs. I'm glad you two were here. I mean, I wouldn't mind advertising my glorious size. You know what's up with me back home, right? Naruto asked, getting a questioning look from the crew. I'm rebuilding my mom's clan. So having this shown in theaters will have women from all over the world come and get some of this. Oh yeah, and that means Koyuki has just been impregnated by the one and only Naruto Uzumaki on camera. Believe it. The blonde declared before putting on his clothes and leaving. Goo. Koyuki gurgled out. Turning to face the battered actress, the crew smiled at each other, satisfied with the scene they had just shot. That's a wrap. The director said before shutting the camera off. Oh man. Let's edit this shit now and get it to every theater. Hey boss. The sound guy asked. What's up? I was wondering, what should his name be for this film? The director placed a finger on his chin before thinking long and hard. How about 9-hour Naruto? That sounds great. But how does Superman Stamina feel? Or the Yellow Flash? Yeah, that's it. The Yellow Flash. The sound guy exclaimed excitedly. Kento, you're a genius. The director shouted before they head to edit the video. However, they forget to check if the princess was okay. She was left to ed stupid mess as our crewman ran off to the editing room. So good Naruto. She moaned before passing out. Iwagakure Red Light District. 1 week later. It was another day of walking through Iwa. We see a kunoichi who was about 5 feet 3 inches, around 17 years old, had short black hair with pink eyes. She was wearing the standard Iwa ninja outfit. It was none other than Iwa Jonin Kuretsuchi, who had just finished a mission. She was getting tired of doing those chores they labeled as missions, and she was dying to try her luck with an S-ranked one. Man, these D-rank missions can go jump of a cliff for all I care. The Iwa kunoichi growled in frustration. Now Kuretsuchi was easily the best kunoichi within Iwa, and her skills combined with her beauty made her the most desirable female in the entire village. She could honestly care less, since she wasn't interested in dating anyone, as she was castrate any man who dared to ask her out, except a certain blonde chunin she met one-on-one a few months ago. Instead of dating, she actually much preferred to masturbate herself to an orgasm, since she was apprehensive about having a ravage her virgin, and she was saving it for the man she marries. Besides, she was addicted to fingering herself, so no would be good enough for her. Or so she thought. She comes up to an adult theater, and before entering she looked left and right to make sure anyone she knew wasn't nearby. Seeing the coast is clear, she entered the building. Maybe they have a new movie with some doggy-style scenes. Gets tiring when you masturbate to the same old missionary stuff. She thought. Kuretsuchi would never tell anyone, but she was a very perverted girl, quite the horny kind too. She never, ever would let anyone know, because despite her tomboyish and tough demeanor, she was very shy too, and that would ruin her tough image. She continued to walk inside the lobby until a certain poster caught her eye. She walks over to look at it and was shocked at what it was. It was a promotional poster for an adult film that was on air now, and the person on it made her go wide-eyed. Princess Gale and the Yellow Flash. The image was of a Koyuki Kazuhana getting plowed by a spiky blonde-haired guy with a trademark foxy grin. No way. Is that Naruto? She was snapped out of her shock, believing she was imagining the image, but when she saw the names of the actors in the film and saw Naruto Uzumaki written next to Koyuki Kazuhana's, let's just say she was even more shocked was an understatement. Naruto is in a porno. And with the Koyuki. Kuretsuchi had indeed met the blonde before. A few days after he returned from his training trip with Jiraiya, he was sent immediately to meet with someone from Iwagakure at the Kanabi Bridge. The two villages have set aside their hatred for one another and decided to send one person each to bring gifts that were meant to go to the cage of each their village as a sign of friendship. Onoki gave Tsunade a crate full of the best sake in the world, while Tsunade had Naruto give the short bastard a pure wave massager for all his back pain. Needless to say, when the two teenagers met, Kuretsuchi was already flirting with the blonde, much to his embarrassment, and both became sidetracked as they conversated for hours. The two did part on good terms, however, but not before Kuretsuchi pinched Naruto's flaccid. Naruto was shocked and decided to pay her back by spanking her, leading her to tease him by calling him a bad boy. Back to the present, Kuretsuchi had purchased a ticket for Princess Gale and the Yellow Flash. Entering the theater where it will air, she takes a seat in the front row and leans back against her chair to enjoy the movie. After a few trailers, the movie appeared on screen, and Kuretsuchi was immediately greeted to Naruto plowing the famous actress with not only his, but he was also fisting her with extreme efficiency. Damn, did he look like he was damn good between the sheets. There was only one thing that caught her eye. She saw how equipped Naruto was. Wow, who would have thought that Naruto would have a huge ing? The Jonin thought with a massive blush on her face, as remembered when she pinched it from their meeting. She was so into the movie that she failed to notice that she had slipped a hand into her shorts and was rubbing her through her already wet panties. The film lasted for about 9 hours before it ended, and Kuretsuchi was left a flustered mess. Sure, she wasn't interested in dating anyone except Naruto, but after seeing the film, Kuretsuchi had only one thing going through her head. She wanted Naruto's, only his, and she wanted it now. Taking her hand out of her pants, she got up and left. I wonder if Gramps will let me visit Konoha, she thought with a perverted grin on her face. In the forest several miles away from Konoha. It's a sunny day in the land of fire, and what better way to spend it than for her and her two companions to go on a leisurely walk to meet with the leader, Lady Tsunade. The camera pans over to a dirt path and we see three figures walking down the road heading for Konoha. One figure is a big motherer by the name of Akatsuchi, and on his shoulders he carries a short bastard named Onoki, who was the third Tsuchikage. Walking beside Akatsuchi was his best friend and Onoki's granddaughter Kuretsuchi. Ever since Kuretsuchi saw Naruto's amazing skills on the big screen, he has been on her mind ever since, and she couldn't get him out. She really wanted to go see him after watching the film, and lucky for her, Iwa and Konoha were scheduled to have a meeting today, and here they are heading straight to the village. Despite that it only seemed that she just wanted him for his huge, she genuinely had a crush on the blonde, and she was excited to see him after a few months, and maybe they can start something between them. Akatsuchi and Onoki were conversating about the upcoming meeting with the Hokage, and they were very excited since if this talk went well, relations between Iwagakure and Konohagakure would improve even more. However, Kuretsuchi wasn't taking part in the conversation since she was lost in thought as she was staring dreamily into space thinking about her blonde crush. Hee. Now I can have my way with Naruto, tell him I like him and he's all mine. Kuretsuchi thought with hearts for eyes. Her trance-like state wouldn't go unnoticed by Onoki as he turned to check on his granddaughter and was about to ask why she wasn't talking much, only to see her eyes replaced by said hearts. Kuretsuchi, who are you thinking about? The short old geezer asked in a teasing tone. Snapping out of her daze, Kuretsuchi looked away with a massive blush on her face. It's nothing, Gramps. I was just daydreaming is all. Onoki chuckled at his granddaughter's lame excuse. Could it be you have a suitor in Konoha? If so, you may go see him if you so please. You are an adult after all, dear. The old man said with a hearty laugh. Kuretsuchi was blushing even more now. Turning to face her grandpa with her face visibly red, she said, I don't have any suitor in Konoha. I'm not the dating type. The kunoichi pouted cutely. Heh. You don't need to be shy about it, Kuretsuchi. It's fine if you care, like her, or even in love with someone, because that's your life and it's none of my business. It's a natural part of everyone's life. What makes you happy? It makes me happy. Akatsuchi said, patting the kunoichi on the shoulder. I don't know what you're talking about, big guy. Kuretsuchi shot back. Streets of Konoha. After an hour and a half from the previous scene, the three Iwa shinobi had finally arrived, and after checking in with Izumo and Kotetsu, they began to make their way towards the Hokage's office to meet with Lady Tsunade. Onoki, however, decided to head off on his own and have the two youngsters go into town and enjoy the food and experience the culture since it is their first time here. Kuretsuchi, however, stayed behind for a minute to ask the two Chunin if Naruto was here. She was disappointed, however, when she learned that he was on a mission, but then her disappointment turned to happiness when they told her he should be back in an hour or so and that they'll let him know when he returns. Thanking the two, Kuretsuchi then walked back to where Akatsuchi and Onoki were. Alright, you two, I will be heading to see Lady Tsunade, so go ahead and enjoy yourselves. Onoki said as he picks up his pack and slips it onto his back. He was about to walk off when circa crack snap. Ahu. My back. My neck and my back. Onoki cried out in anguish as he toppled over, twitching in pain. Kuretsuchi was doing her best to restrain her laughter. Listen, Gramps, want to send somebody else instead? Lord Tsuchikage. I can go with you if you want. Akatsuchi said, picking up the broken old man. Urg. No. I got this, Akatsuchi, so leave me be. Onoki protested as he slowly gets up in obvious pain. Meh. Young whippersnappers. He muttered under his breath as he tries to put his pack on when. Crack snap crunch. Yee-ahoo. The Tsuchikage screamed as he falls on his crunch. Ahu. My. Kuretsuchi just scoffed at the old man's futile attempts to prove that he didn't need help when quite frankly he obviously did. TCH, you're such a stubborn old geezer, you know that. She said, rubbing her temple with her gloved hand. Watch your mouth, young lady. I am Tsuchikage Onoki. The old man growled before being picked up by Akatsuchi, who gives him a ride on his bigger pack. Lord Tsuchikage, let me take you there because you can't make it on your own. Akatsuchi said as he walks off, leaving Kuretsuchi by herself. Onoki just pouted. HMPH. Fine then, I don't care. Watching the two disappear into the crowd, Kuretsuchi then set off, wait for her blonde crush and spend as much time with him as possible before she had to go back to Iowa. Konoha main gate. 2 hours later. Azumo and Katetsu were just as bored as ever since this was shift 100 in a row. The two were so bored out of their mind that they were about to fall into a year-long hibernation until they heard a thunderous sound coming from outside the gate. The two of them peek out of their lookout station and spot a large dust cloud coming their way. SH. Nearly there. The finish line is in sight. A voice screamed out as a figure comes to a screeching halt right in front of them, striking the crane pose. Victory. The two Chunin just stared at the figure, which was revealed to be Guy, in utter disbelief. What the is he doing? Azumo questioned with an open mouth expression. I don't know. Katetsu answered with a deadpan expression. Guy was celebrating his victory when the others showed up and were out of breath from trying to catch up to the green-clad Jonin. Except Kakashi, of course, who was busy reading his book. This guy, Naruto thought with an annoyed look. Does this guy ever chill? To you thought. Seriously. Karen thought, sweat dropping. I'm punching him into space this time. Zombina thought as she cracked her knuckles. Hee. Katsumi, you naughty girl. Kakashi thought with a blush as he continued to read his porn. Guy turned to face his colleagues after basking his victory in the race none of them agreed to be a part of. Alright then. Everyone accounted for. Yeah. The four Chunin murmured. Alright then, you guys go ahead and head on home while Kakashi and I report into Lady Tsunade for a mission well done. Guy exclaimed before grabbing the silver-haired Jonin and taking off with him at Mach speed. Before the teenagers walked off to go home, Azumo and Katetsu told Naruto to wait a minute and that they had a message for him from a certain Iwa Kunoichi heading over to them. They just said that this girl really wanted to see him and to go find her. Go ahead and head home, girls, I'll be back, he said to the three redheads. Sensing what this might be about, the girls bid Naruto farewell before walking off with giggles and perverted grins on their faces. Watching the girls walk off, Naruto then decides to go get some ramen before finding the Iwa Kunoichi Ichiraku ramen shop. Kuretsuchi was busy giving herself a tour of the foreign village. Since she was shy to ask a local whether it be a civilian or a Konoha shinobi, she decided to give herself her own tour despite not knowing her way around the village. She spotted a ramen stand up ahead and checked her watch and saw that it was 3 in the afternoon. Ramen isn't my favorite, but I haven't eaten since breakfast, so why not? She thought before making her way towards the stand. She was in front of the stand when she spotted a customer dressed in an orange and black jumpsuit. There was only one person who would wear that. Her heart beated faster while butterflies threatened to explode out of her poor little stomach. Walking over, she lifts the curtain and there he was. Our favorite blonde bastard devouring his 76th bowl of ramen. Holy shit. He eats a lot. Kuretsuchi thought with a sweat drop, but soon she had a perverted grin on her face. Maybe I'm glad he eats a lot, he. Tyuki and Ayame spot the Iwa Kunoichi sneaking up on the blonde and decided not to say anything. Now that she was right behind Naruto, she placed her hands over his eyes, making him stop eating. Hey, who's that? Naruto asked. Guess who, cutie? She giggled. Your voice isn't recognizable, Naruto said. Well then, I guess I'll let you look at my face then since I feel nice today, Naruto. The kunoichi said, moving her gloved hands away. Naruto closes his eyes and spins around 180 degrees. Seeing his eyes close, Kuretsuchi tells him to open them and Naruto gasped in surprise. In front of him was someone he has been wanting to see again. It was the Iowa kunoichi from Canopy Bridge. Hey, it's you. Kuretsuchi, right? Naruto said as he gets up from his seat and hugs the girl. Blushing at the sudden embrace, Kuretsuchi returned the hug with shaky hands. You remember my name. I've missed you, Naruto, she said. I sure missed you too. Naruto exclaimed as they break the hug. So what brings you to Konoha? Well, I came here with Akatsuchi and my grandfather, as you know, as the Tsuchikage, and today is the first day our villages have the 2-day-long meeting to discuss ways to improve our growing relationship. Kuretsuchi explained. Oh yeah, I forgot. To be honest, I was hoping you'd show up actually. He said, nervously scratching the back of his head. Naruto wanted me to come. Oh yeah, the kunoichi thought with stars for eyes. An awkward silence befalls the two and they stared at each other for a moment, lost in each other's eyes. So would you have some ramen with me? Naruto said, breaking the silence. Sure. Kuretsuchi replied with a blush. The two then take a seat and spend over 2 hours chatting about their recent events. After they finished their meals, they paid and left to go for a walk. Since it was about 5 in the evening now, Kuretsuchi had an idea. Hey Naruto. Yeah, what do you say to a spar with me? The Jonin asked. Naruto thought about it. He hadn't had a spar with anyone for weeks, so this might be a good idea to test his skills against a Jonin who is about the same age as him, so why the not? That honestly sounds really fun, Kuretsuchi. Come on, I'll take you to where I trained when I was a genin. Grabbing her hand, he shunshins. Third training field. The quiet scene of the third training field is interrupted when Naruto appears in a swirling vortex of Kyuubi chakra with his arm on Kuretsuchi's shoulder. Kuretsuchi was taken by how tranquil and beautiful the training ground looked. The ones in Iowa are nice since they were on top of the mountains that surround the village, but not as beautiful as this. This particular training ground was beside a lake and there was a lush forest opposite that, giving the place a lovely and friendly vibe. Alright, here's the place. Naruto said as he went to stretch for the oncoming battle with the Iowa Jonin. It's really nice, Naruto. Really, she said while she begins stretching herself. So what kind of spar are we talking about here? The blonde asked. Let me think. How does taijutsu sound? The kunoichi answered. Ah, but I'm on that great at taijutsu. Let's do something else. The Naruto protested. I outrank you, silly, so you are doing a taijutsu spar with me or I shall have you reported for disrespecting a superior. Kuretsuchi said sternly. Man. Oh fine, then you win. Naruto pouted cutely, looking the other way. Oh god, that pouting makes him look cuter than normal. Before we begin, however, let's make a wager. Kuretsuchi giggled. Oh, what are you wagering then? Naruto questioned with a raised eyebrow. If you win, you can tell me what to do, like I'm one of the genin, and I'll buy you 1,000 bowls of ramen. If I win, you take me on a date. Kuretsuchi said with a small blush grazing her cheeks. Naruto blushed at what she said. Oh hell yeah, I've always wanted to go on a date with her since we met. But then, I want to show her how good I am though and get all the free ramen I can have. How does that sound? Are you gonna fight me or are you going to chicken out, Blondie? Kuretsuchi teased. No way in hell, Kuretsuchi. Naruto Uzumaki never backs down from a challenge. The blonde declared. Kuretsuchi giggled at his determination. It amplified his cuteness to a higher degree, but sadly she was feeling like kicking his to get that date with him. Ready? Kuretsuchi asked, getting into her stance. Ready. Naruto shouted, getting to his own stance, which was a taekwondo fighting stance. I've never seen that before. Kuretsuchi thought. There was a brief silence between the two before. Go. They both shouted in unison. Kuretsuchi rushes forward to deliver a Mach speed punch aimed straight at Naruto's jaw, only for the blonde to raise his leg and intercepts the blow. The force of the kick was enough to send her fist going upward, leaving her open to attack. Wow. So strong, she said under her breath just as Naruto attempts to perform a roundhouse kick on her. Kuretsuchi recovers from the interception and catches the leg by the shin with one hand while going to bring her elbow down onto it. Before her elbow could connect, Naruto throws his fist forward and lands a punch on the kunoichi's cheek. Stumbling backwards in pain, Naruto's leg is freed from her grip. Kuretsuchi spat out blood, and when Naruto saw this he freaked out. Ow. That hurt, Naruto, she said, pretending to cry. Oh no. Are you okay, Kuretsuchi? I didn't mean to hit you that hard, Naruto said as he ran over to her. Yeah, I'm fine, Naruto, don't worry about me, she snorted, but deep down she was actually happy to see that he was worried for her well-being. So do you still want to spar or? Before he could finish, Kuretsuchi dashed forward and delivered a very powerful kick that sent the blonde flying into a tree. Groaning in pain, Naruto attempted to get up only to feel a hand shove him back onto his. Looking up at Kuretsuchi, he was about to say something when she took out a sword and held it against his throat. You wanna keep going? She asked with a smirk. Naruto, seeing is that he was beaten in one move, held his arms up in surrender. Huh. You tricked me. Kuretsuchi helped him up and dusted him off. I never said we couldn't use tricks, silly. You know what you have to do now, right? She questioned with a seductive smirk. Huh. Oh. Ah man, he complained. Let's make it nice and simple, Naruto. Just take me to a good spot where we can sit and watch the sunset together. Alone. Just the two of us, okay? She giggled. Well, at least we're not going shopping because I hate shopping, the blonde said. Tell me about it. Shopping is so 9 years ago, the kunoichi added with a wave of her arm. Naruto then took her hand with his and held her close. Blushing at this, Kuretsuchi thought she was going to faint from how warm his touch was. You said you wanted to go to a good place to watch the sunset, right? He asked, getting a nod from kunoichi. Well, you're in luck because I know the greatest spot in the world. He then performs a hand seal and they both shunshin out of the training ground. Hokage Monument. Naruto and Kuretsuchi appear atop of the fourth's head. The amount of energy it took to shunshin two people a great distance left Naruto really dizzy. Shaking his head, he saw as Kuretsuchi walked over to the edge and took a seat near the edge. Smiling, Naruto then walks over and takes a seat next to her. For over half an hour the two didn't say anything as they relished in how beautiful the sunset was. Kuretsuchi then looked at Naruto from the corner of her eye and slowly leaned her head and rested it on his shoulder. Feeling the sudden warmth from Kuretsuchi's head, Naruto looked to see her leaning on him. Smiling, he wraps an arm around her waist. The two of them were really enjoying each other's company. Sure, Naruto had like 6 girlfriends already, but he was starting to love Kuretsuchi like he did the others. You know, the 4th Hokage is easily the greatest hero we've ever had in Konoha's history. When I sit here on his head I can't help but feel so peaceful and happy, Naruto spoke. Kuretsuchi went wide-eyed as she realized whose head they were sitting on. She, however, tried not to shove Naruto away. I found out something too, Kuretsuchi. Naruto continued, unaware of what was going on with his date. I found out that the 4th is my father, Naruto said with a sad tone. The feelings of happiness Kuretsuchi was feeling instantly vanished and was quickly replaced with anger and disdain. Without a word she shoves Naruto away and got up to leave. Naruto was caught off guard by her shove and looked up to see her storming off. Kuretsuchi, wait, he shouted, running to her and grabbing her arm only to be shoved away. Your father is a murderer, do you know that? She shouted in anger. To say Naruto was confused was an understatement. His dad, a murderer? The 4th was a murderer. He was not. What do you mean, Kuretsuchi? He's a hero. He saved Konoha 16 years ago when he sealed the 9-tailed fox in my body, Naruto said sadly. I never even knew my mom and dad. I was hated by the entire village, and on my birthday of every year the villagers hunt me down, he explained. Kuretsuchi gasped. Naruto was a Jinchuriki. She honestly never knew. Turning to face the blonde, she then wrapped her arms about him. Her anger subsiding and was replaced with sorrow, and she began crying. Naruto, hearing this, then patted her on her back. I'm sorry for not telling you when we met the first time. If you don't want to be around me anymore for what I am, I understand. He said. No, Naruto, it's not that. It's just, your dad, KK, killed my mother during the Third Shinobi War. She sobbed. Naruto gasped. So that's why she was acting the way she was. He then pushed the girl away and turned around feeling ashamed. How can he face her now that he now understood why she hated the fourth so much? I think I'll go Kuretsuchi. Since my father is responsible for killing your mother. I get it. You hate me now. He said sadly as he began to walk away. Oh no. I made him feel guilty for something he didn't do. I have to stop him. She thought. Running over to the blonde, she hugged him from behind, catching him by surprise. Turning him around, she puts a hand on his cheek. Naruto, it's not your fault. Yes, I hate your father for killing my mother, but that doesn't mean I hate you, Naruto-kun. Please don't think like that. You aren't a murderer. You're a really good guy, and I mean it. She reassured with a on the cheek. To hear such words from a kunoichi from a former enemy nation meant a lot to him. Putting a hand on her cheek, he began to cry. It really means a lot to hear you say that, Kuro-chan, it really does. He said before he began to sob uncontrollably. Kuretsuchi wiped away every tear that left his eyes. She then tightened her hug. I'm glad to have met you, Naruto. You mean a lot to me, and nothing is gonna change that. Not even with what your father did, your Naruto, not the fourth Hokage. She whispered into his ear. She proceeded to hug him and lean her head onto his chest. Naruto has never been comforted in such a way before, and the kunoichi's warmth and embrace was making him feel all fuzzy inside. The two of them stayed like that for 10 minutes before separating, giving each other a warm smile. Seeing a tear flow down Naruto's cheek, Kuretsuchi used a finger to wipe it away. Naruto, I lost my mother because of your father during the last war, but I could never hate you for something you weren't responsible for. I like you for you, not because of what the fourth did. Kuretsuchi whispered. I really appreciate what you're saying. I'm sorry for your loss, Kuro-chan. If I could bring your mother back, I would. Naruto said with a sad tone as he looks away in shame. Kuretsuchi then placed a hand on his cheek, prompting the blonde to look at her. You shouldn't feel sorry because you did not do it. I know he killed my mother and all, but I'm sorry you lost your dad, Naruto-kun. She said, holding back tears. Naruto gives her a warm smile, to which Kuretsuchi returns. Then their faces began moving closer towards one another, closer until their lips connected. It was filled with passion. They both moaned into it as the feeling of their lips touching sent electricity flowing through their bodies. Wow, the two of them said in unison. He tastes so good. She tastes amazing. They stayed like that for a couple minutes before separating. After a moment of silence, Naruto was about to say something when Kuretsuchi put a finger on his mouth. Take me to your house, Naruto. She ordered in a seductive voice. With a perverted grin, Naruto then performs a shunshin, taking them away from the area. Not a couple meters away, we see three redheads giggling to themselves in the bushes. Oh man, I hope that girl knows what she's gotten herself into. Yuya exclaimed. Damn right. Seriously, I can't wait to see her tomorrow after a good pounding. Karen laughed. Too bad she isn't like me, where Naruto can go at his absolutely hardest. Zombina said with a wink. The three redheads then begin to walk to Karen's house, since Kuretsuchi and Naruto were going to be, well, you know. Naruto and Yuya's apartment. The teens appear via shunshin in front of the apartment door, and Naruto goes to unlock it. The moment he unlocked it, Kuretsuchi who tackles him through the door, and the two land the couch with the front door somehow shutting on its own. Aren't you a bold one, Kuro-chan? I like bold girls. Naruto said with a wink. That's because I like being in charge of things, Naru-kun. So get ready because tonight you're not gonna to own my is gonna to own your. She said with an evil grin. Let the begin. The two then engage as a. Eventually the would turn into a furious makeout session that saw the two ing the insides of each other's mouths, and the pleasurable feeling was causing the two teens to moan into each other's mouths. Kuretsuchi then gathers up some spit and spits the globs of saliva into Naruto's mouth. Damn, she tastes so great. Naruto thought as he goes to return the favor. Wow, he tastes so manly. And with a hint of ramen in the mix. Kuretsuchi thought. The two escalate the makeout session to where both their hands were grabbing each other's faces. One of Naruto's hand reaches downward and slithers its way into Kuretsuchi's pants and gets past her panties. His hand then squeezes her plump cheeks, earning a moan from the kunoichi. Naruto. She moaned as she reaches downwards and proceeds to unbutton his pants to pull them off, leaving our blonde in only his boxers. Naruto reached for her red outfit and ripped every piece of it off as fast as he could, leaving his lover gloriously in front of him, and he loved how her body looked. So curvy and very slender, toned stomach and delicate C-cup-sized soft skin and her smooth legs. Kuretsuchi was blushing since Naruto was just staring at her body and she was starting to feel self-conscious. Did he like it? Was he repulsed by it? Naruto noticed that she was really red from his staring and rectified his mistake by saying, "Your body is gorgeous, Kuretsuchi," he said, giving her a warm smile. Kuretsuchi smiled at him before she looked down and took a good look at the ever-growing bulge threatening to rip through the boxers. Well damn, I didn't expect it to be that huge even if I did see it on screen, she thought, ing her lips. Naruto noticed that his new girlfriend was just staring at his bulge in an almost trance-like state. How about you get a better look at it, Kuro-chan? He said in a very husky voice. That's what I plan to do, Naru-kun, she said as she goes to rip the fabric prison away, and just like the girl before her, she was greeted to the very thing she had wanted to see ever since that film. It's even more beautiful in the flesh. Kuretsuchi thought as her entire face went blood red from how massive her boyfriend's is while her juices splattered out of her opening. Naruto grinned at seeing his Kuro-chan's reaction. Out of all the girls, her face was easily the reddest of them all, and he swore he saw her mouth producing more saliva with the excess spit pouring out of her mouth. Kuro-chan, play with it or I'll just stuff it into your mouth, he chuckled. Snapping out her daze, Kuretsuchi shot her hand downward, grabbing the massive schlong, earning a hiss from Naruto due to how tight of a grip she had on it. Damn, Kuro-chan, you're cutting off the circulation. Naruto groaned in pleasure. Good. Now get ready because I'm going to you off like no other girl has or will, and I got a few things I plan on doing that'll make your wildest dreams look like nursery rhymes. The Jonin purred as she brings her head down all the way to his ball sack and gently it, earning a moan from the blonde, and she followed up by planting a gentle on it before ing on it like a pacifier. The new feeling of having his balls made Naruto's eyes roll into the back of his head as he groaned and moaned out loud at the sensation and pleasure. Oh damn, Kuro-chan, keep going please. Naruto got out between pants. More of Kuretsuchi's juices spilled out more of her like a literal spigot at hearing that, and she then stuck her tongue out and began ing his man-meat, starting from the shaft and slowly, very slowly making her way up until she got to the foreskin and then reached the glands. Don't stop. Naruto beckoned. Who said I wanted to stop? She replied before swirling her tongue around the top of his. God yes. He moaned. She continued to swirl her tongue around her lover's tip before slowly sinking her head at an agonizingly slow pace as she inches the into her mouth. Naruto was moaning like a madman because Kuretsuchi's mouth felt the best out of all of the others. Kuretsuchi eventually managed to deep throat his entire 17-incher with literally half of it buried into her throat, causing her to make a few gagging noises as she tried to hold down the glorious meat. After controlling her gag reflex, she began bobbing her head up and down while using both her hands to squeeze and fondle his balls. Kuro-chan. Naruto gasped as she increased the speed of her blowjob. Kuretsuchi got even more wet hearing him say that, and she used her tongue to massage the underside of his prick while she ed, adding more pleasure to her efforts. Her blowjob would continue for 30 minutes until Naruto couldn't bear to hold back in ejaculation. Kuro-chan. Naruto cried out as he was gripping the couch cushions. He came sending over 13 gallons of cum into the Iwa Kunoichi's wonderful mouth, filling it so much that her cheeks puffed out near instantaneously and the excess cum spilled out between her delicate lips. Swallowing a little bit of cum at a time, Kuretsuchi was able to gulp it all down. In her lips, she was about to speak before she burped really loud. Covering her mouth, she giggled as a blush formed on her face. Oh hee. Excuse me. She went to look at her boyfriend only to see him rubbing his. Single quote. Here comes another load. I want it on my face. Kuretsuchi said seductively. Get ready. He moaned as he opened his mouth to groan pleasure, but nothing came out except his spurted out more 5 cups worth of cum, covering her beautiful face, making it look like her face was drenched with shaving cream mixed with Vaseline. Damn. Naruto said, taking a seat on the couch. Turning to Kuretsuchi, watched her use all her digits to scoop up the cream covering her face, and after getting cum on each digit, she proceeded to place each digit individually in her mouth and ed the cum off of them slowly while maintaining eye contact with the blonde teen. That's really hot, Kuro-chan. After a few minutes, Kuretsuchi had cleaned her face, making it cum-free. Placing her index finger, which contained the last bit of cum, she ed on it and smiled in pure satisfaction. Delicious, Naru-kun. That was easily best thing I've ever tasted, and I don't think I'll ever get enough of your baby making cum, she inquired with a blush and warm smile. And you get to eat my cum all day every day, Kuro-chan. Now how about I have a taste of that pretty of yours? Naruto said as his gaze was dead set on that shaved, wet and very tight looking of Kuro-chan's. Kuretsuchi blushed at his statement. You think Mai is pretty? She asked. Of course. Now sit back and relax, Kuro-chan, and let your man pleasure you. Naruto said huskily. Complying with her boyfriend's words, she laid back, resting her head on one of the couch pillows and opened up her legs. Reaching downwards with her hands, she uses 2 fingers to spread her pink lips, exposing her vaginal opening to Naruto. You're seriously the prettiest looking one I've seen, Kuro-chan. Come and get it then. Naruto then proceeded to dive down on Kuretsuchi and began eating, slurping and ing the living shit out of her with the utmost aggression. Oh god. Eat that and don't stop. Kuretsuchi moaned out, which only got Naruto to increase his efforts to the point where the kunoichi was left thrashing pure ecstasy. Naruto then brought his index and middle finger into play and inserted them into the kunoichis and began finger banging her at a speed that was so fast that when she opened her mouth wide to moan, she was unable to make a sound. Continuing his finger banging, he then moves his mouth upwards and began ing her, adding more pleasure to the foreplay he was giving her. Several minutes later, her tight virgin couldn't take Naruto's foreplay any longer, and it wasn't long until she felt a pressure build up in her belly. Oh Naru-kun, I'm gonna. Kuretsuchi screamed, almost squealed in extreme pleasure, arching her back as her climax hit her like a dynamic entry, greeting Naruto with her juices firing out of her body and into his mouth like a hydro pump. Naruto picked up a toad mug from off the floor and placed at the tip of her vagina, and the continued squirting filled the mug up in no time. Damn, none of the girls have squirted like this before. Naruto thought as he basked in silence from the spraying juices from the kunoichi filling up his cup. The spraying went on for over 5 minutes before it died down, and our favorite Iwa kunoichi was left laying there breathing heavily and blushing like crazy. That was the best thing in the whole world. She got out between pants. Looking up, she saw Naruto drinking her juices from the mug. Her blushing intensified as Naruto gulped the whole thing down and burped. How do I taste, Naruto? She asked shyly. You taste so much better than the other girls and ramen combined. So unique that it's difficult to put into words. He said with his trademark grin. I'm glad you enjoyed my juice. She said before looking at Naruto's still hard battering ram. Naruto. Yes. I want you. Inside me. Kuretsuchi said, biting and ing her lips. How badly do you want it? Naruto teased as he positions himself over her in a missionary position. So bad. I really need it, please. The kunoichi pleaded. Complying, Naruto takes his and places the head against her orris and gently rubs it with the tip of his, making the girl moan loud. Please. Naruto, I can't wait anymore. She begged. Fine, fine. I believed you have suffered enough. Naruto chuckled. Naruto, please be gentle with me, okay? I want us to make love and it's my first time. She whispered into his ear. As you wish, Kuro-chan. Naruto said before giving her a quick peck on the lips and goes to slowly insert his 17-inch prick into her as gently as he could. Kuretsuchi began moaning as the head slowly entered her before coming into contact with her hymen. Oh god, yes. Naruto inched in more of his into get, and soon enough her hymen was broken, allowing at least 4 inches of to get into her. The feeling of her hymen breaking caused Kuretsuchi to squeal in pleasure. Naruto, a little faster please, she purred. Your wish is my command, Kuro-chan. He said before picking up his pace a little, getting a few more moans from the Iwajanan. Naruto added more force into his thrust. Each thrust ramming 2 inches of his prick into her tight virgin vagina every time, and after a few minutes of thrusting he had gotten the entire ramrod into her body. Make rough and passionate love to me please. Kuretsuchi pleaded, her body aching in need, and before she knew it Naruto just picked up the pace to the point where the sound of his swollen ballsack was smacking against her shapely, sending the sounds of skin slapping skin echoing around the living room. The only obstacle in Naruto's way was how tight Kuretsuchi's vagina was. Damn, she is easily the tightest out of all the others. Naruto thought as he picked up the pace and began pounding into her at a merciless pace. Kuretsuchi screamed in pure pleasure as Naruto's long and thick stretched her to her absolute limit. Oh god, keep going like that. She moaned in a high-pitched voice, I'm coming. To Naruto's pleasure, Kuretsuchi squirted a massive amount of vaginal fluids coating his, and that alone is what did it, and after an hour of rough pounding Naruto was reaching his limit. That familiar feeling in his sack becoming stronger with each thrust. Urg. Here it comes, Kuro-chan. Take it. Take my cum inside your. Naruto cried out as Kuretsuchi's clamped down onto his thrusting member with such pressure it felt like his was going to be crushed, and began to yank his into Naruto. It felt like it was desperately milking him dry of all his sperm. Oh yes, please cum in my Naru-kun. Kuretsuchi moaned out as she squirted in tiny spurts. Here it comes. Naruto shouted as he halted his thrusting. In due time Kuretsuchi's vagina was flooded with 10 gallons worth of semen. Most of it actually piercing through her cervix and getting into her uterus, successfully impregnating her. Soon enough the amount of semen became too much for the Iwajanans and a fair amount spilled out. Seeing this, Naruto withdrew himself from her vagina and scooped up all the cum that leaked out and inserted it all back into her. So warm, Kuretsuchi said as the two on the lips with extreme passion. The two then separate for air, and before Naruto could say anything Kuretsuchi puts a finger on his lips. Now that you've destroyed my, I want that huge to destroy my. She cooed into his ear. Oh, you want it gentle or me to savagely you into oblivion? The blonde asked with a grin. Just my tight, puckered as hard and fast as you can, then empty a huge load of that cum inside my tight virgin. Kuretsuchi purred as she proceeds to get on all fours and shaking her at him, come and get it. Damn, you have the best, Kuro-chan. Naruto complimented as he rubbed his glands against her anus, making her moan and pant in need. Naruto then thrusted his schlong into her pink and puckered hole, jamming his entire length into her. The moans she was giving from this made Naruto's boner get even more hard than it usually was. Single quote. Getting my stuffed feels so good. She grunted through gritted teeth. Now don't you hold anything back, Naru-kun. Me hard now. Yours funeral, he said before picking up the pace to near inhumane levels. The sounds of his hips smacking against her filled the living room, and the force of his thrusts made her rest her head on the armrest, moaning her off. Her head lowered onto the armrest where she could see under herself and she was enjoying the sight before her. She was able to see Naruto ferociously slam into her and she tried to moan but she couldn't find the energy to do so. It was like every thrust was knocking the air out of her lungs. Finding herself out of breath from the thrusting, she raised her head up and let out a silent scream as she unleashed another torrent of girl cum coating Naruto's. Shit. I'm coming. Take it all in your Kuro-chan. Naruto growled as he stopped thrusting, leaving his literally balls deep in her. Kuretsuchi opened her mouth again to try and moan and this time she was able to finally say something. G, give me all of your cum. She grunted out as she grabbed one of the pillows on the couch and bit into it. Naruto went full throttle into her and finally he came and let out a loud growl as his member expelled Kuretsuchi's desired white cream into her hole. Withdrawing his, Naruto watched as the excess cum began seeping out of Kuretsuchi's now loosened hole before scooping up what came out and inserting it back in with his finger. Kuretsuchi then turns to lay on her back and pulls Naruto down to give him a on the lips. That was wonderful, Naru-kun. Let's do this every day. The kunoichi could. I'd love to. I don't think I'm going to get sick of your titan Kuro-chan. You moan the best too, he said with a grin. Oh really? Then you get to hear me moan for you every day. Kuretsuchi giggled. The two share a passionate on the lips, resting their foreheads against each other. Blue eyes staring into pink ones. I love you, Naruto. I love you, Kuretsuchi. The two then knock out on the couch cuddling each other. 2 days later at Konoha's main gate, Onoki, Akatsuchi are seen packed up and ready to head back to Iwagakure. However, we see Naruto and Kuretsuchi holding hands standing in front of the two Iwa males. Kuretsuchi wasn't packed up since she decided to remain here in Konoha to be with the blonde boy. I see, Onoki said with a saddened look in his eyes, so you'll reside here from now on. Are you sure about this, Kuretsuchi? Akatsuchi asked. Yes, Gramps, Akatsuchi, I want to be with Naruto for the rest of my life. I love him and the thought of seeing him once in a blue moon would kill me on the inside. Kuretsuchi explained. Sighing, Onoki just gave his granddaughter a smile as Kuretsuchi hands him her Iwa headband and her Iwa vest. If it makes you happy, then me and Akatsuchi will be happy. He then turned to face the blonde, and you yellow flashes, son, you'd better take care of my little Kuretsuchi, got it? Little whipper-snapper. He grumbled. Don't worry, Lord Tsuchikage. You can count on me, believe it. Naruto declared with his signature grin. Gramps, with me here I can act as the Iwa ambassador to Konoha, you know. Kuretsuchi added, earning a nod from the elderly man. With that, Akatsuchi and Onoki were off. Kuretsuchi and Naruto turned to face each other, a smile before engaging in a. However, their moment was interrupted when Izumo and Kotetsu are heard cheering in the background. Woo! Go get Naruto. Yeah, Izumo shouted, crying anime tears. Bomb chicka, wow wow. Kotetsu wolf whistled. The two lovers then turned to face the Chunin with tick marks on their heads. Lava release. Quicklime congealing technique. Rasengan. Ah. Takigakure shopping district. It's a warm day in Takigakure. The people are seen going about their business and the scene is calm and serene until a commotion is heard from a small noodle shop. We see a girl with mint-colored hair being chased out of the restaurant by the owner carrying a large butcher knife. Get out, you bug bitch, or I'll squish you. The owner shouted, holding a butcher knife to her neck. Whatever you. The mint-haired girl spat back, punching the man before running. On a quiet afternoon in the forests in Fire Country near the border with Takigakure, we see a girl running as fast as she can as if being chased by someone or something. After several minutes of running, the girl stops to catch her breath while leaning against a tree. Her treatment in Takigakure came to a point where the villagers had chased her out of the village. I hope I lost those bastard villagers. The girl said, out of breath. The camera pans up and it is revealed to us who the girl is. She was petite, had tan skin, had mint-colored hair that was layered and had an orange clip in it, wore a white midriff with a mesh armor shirt underneath it. Her eyes were a distinctive orange color and she wore a apron-like skirt over fishnet shorts. This girl was none other than Fu, the container of the seven-tailed beast Chome. Stupid villagers. I haven't done shit to them and they treat me that way all because of this tailed beast within me. She said as she goes to lay down beside the tree. I just want to be accepted. Isn't that too hard to ask for? She was about to cry when she heard what sounded like people moving through the brushes in front of her. Jumping up at the noise, she draws a kunai and gets into a defensive stance. Who the hell is there? Show yourselves or I will attack you. Fu ordered. The unknown visitors complied and from the bushes emerged two figures wearing a cloak that had red clouds on it. One of them was carrying what looked like a big scythe while the other had a mask and a hat thing on. Who are you? Fu asked. You're the Jinchuriki of the seven-tailed beast girly, so you can come with us peacefully or I'm gonna have to use force. The scythe guy said with a smirk. Yeah, what my idiot partner said. The masked guy said, crossing his arms. At that moment Fu didn't even try to fight back and instead she just took off running, getting an annoyed groan from the scythe-wielding guy. Every time, he growled before he and his partner take off after the girl. 20 minutes later, Fu was hopping through the forest for a good 20 minutes now, and had she not run away from the villagers chasing her a moment ago she would have had enough energy to keep going and quite possibly lose those weirdos with the cloaks. She continued on for about a mile before she finally decided to rest her tired body. Landing beside a tree stump, she falls down on her knees completely out of breath. Man, I can keep making a break for it and get to Konoha, but I don't think I'd be welcomed since I'm from another village. Then again, I can't go back to Taki since that pathetic excuse of a village hates my guts. She whispered to herself when suddenly two figures land in front of her. The two figures were the cloaked guys from earlier. The one with the scythe stepped up. Haha, looks like we've caught up to you, girl. Now why don't you just surrender and let us take you without having to fight, huh? Fighting is already tiresome as it is. Hidan, will you shut the up and just knock her out already? Masochist bastard. The masked guy snorted. How about you put a in your mouth, Kakuzu, and shut the up for once, you greedy whore? Hidan snarled back. Greedy whore, says the guy who gets horny off stabbing himself in the heart. I'd much rather be a greedy whore than get off on that shit. Kakuzu retorted. Grr, you better watch your mouth, you rag doll bastard, or I'll use my technique and get 4 times horny stabbing all your hearts. See, you just admitted to me and the girl that you get horny off that disgusting shit. Jashin can my balls. I'll tie a new knot with your Jongu with your wrinkly balls and all your hearts. Fu was just staring at the two men arguing with a sweat drop. Taking advantage of the situation, Fu lunges forward, delivering a hard punch straight at Hidan's jaw with enough force to break it while also sending the man staggering backwards in pain. Yeah, you just got beat by a teenage girl, Hidan. Kakuzu said before his fists extend out ready to deliver punches at Fu. Seeing Kakuzu's fists come within reach, Fu draws out a kunai and leaps into the air to dodge. However, one of Kakuzu's extended fists went rushing upwards, and before the mint-haired girl could react, the fist connected with her cheek and struck her with enough force to knock the girl out. Her unconscious body falling to the ground to be caught by Kakuzu holding her bridal style. Smirking in satisfaction at catching a Jinchuriki, Kakuzu turned to face his partner to see the scythe-wielding weirdo rubbing his jaw. TCH, you got lucky, Kazuku. I could have taken her out easily, but I was being careless is all. Sure, whatever you say, you masochist bastard. Now hurry up and finish rubbing that jaw of yours and let's get the out of here before anyone spots us. We're not exactly unknown in Fire Country, you know. Kazuku said as he begins walking off. Whatever you stringy bitch. Next time you take the punch and I'll take the Jinchuriki. Hole. Hidan groaned before walking off to join his partner. Hokage's office the next day. Naruto, Zombina, Kuratsuchi, and Kakashi are seen waiting outside of Lady Tsunade's office. They were told it was an emergency, and despite being busy doing their own personal things when the Anbu agents Kamachi and Tawa had gathered them here. The four of them have been waiting for several hours before Naruto's impatience got the best of him. Man, every time Ba-chan does this we always wait like a billion hours before tells us to come in. He shouted in obvious annoyance. Naruto, settle down will you? We're not the only ones she does this to, so you should be used to it by now. Remember when I was always late when you were a genin? Yeah, things haven't changed kiddo. Kakashi said, not taking his eyes off his porn book. Kuretsuchi and Zombina were seen talking to each other when Naruto's outburst alerted them to their boyfriend's distress. Kuretsuchi turned to face him and asked, "What's wrong, Naru-kun?" "Yeah, it's not like you to make an outburst that loud and sudden," Zombina added. Grumbling, Naruto just crossed his arms before he turned to answer his two girlfriends. "It's just that Ba-chan is always so slow with this kind of shit. I could have become Hokage 20 times over before she calls us in," he explained. Though they didn't show it, the two girls were also annoyed at how Lady Tsunade was taking so long. For a cage she was slow as. Then a light bulb appeared above the two girls' heads. If they're going to be waiting this long, then maybe they can try doing some dirty things to pass the time. It's not like Lady Tsunade would be calling them in soon anyway. The two girls then walk to position themselves in front of Naruto and both get on their knees. It was good that Naruto didn't notice since he had his eyes closed, and before he knew it he felt his pants being pulled off along with his boxers. Next thing he knew was two slimy things slowly ing their way up his shaft, making him groan. "Naruto, what's wrong? Are you in pain?" Kakashi asked, lowering his book to check his student, only to be greeted by a sight he thought he would never see in a trillion years. Naruto was getting a double blowjob from Zombina and Kuretsuchi. Ika, double trouble," Kakashi murmured before an incredibly powerful nosebleed rocketed him through a wall. Hearing the commotion, Shizune opened the door to see what was going on, and she was greeted to the sight of the double blowjob. "Hey, I want to join too," the medic said. Turning to face the medic, Kuretsuchi took her tongue off of Naruto's shaft. "Too late, Shizune. No more room," the former Iwa Jonin teased before going back to ing the glorious shaft. Pouting in annoyance, Shizune told them that Lady Tsunade is ready to see them now, much to the dismay of the three teens since Naruto swore he was close to coming. Pulling up his pants, he and the girls walk into the office to see Tsunade facing the windows. "Well, you four are probably wondering why I called you here, him?" she asked without turning to face the teens. "Pretty much, Lady Tsunade," Zombina answered. Turning to face the teens, Tsunade noticed that Kakashi wasn't there. "Where's Kakashi? I swore I heard him a few minutes ago," she said with raised eyebrows. "Oh, he got a nosebleed seeing Zombina and Kuretsuchi here, my," Naruto said with his trademark smirk while putting his arms around the two kunoichi. This caused Tsunade and Shizune to blush hard. Just then Kakashi walks into the office clutching his head. "Ugh, what happened? I have a migraine headache now." "Nothing, Kakashi. Glad you were able to make it," Kuretsuchi said in a sweetly innocent voice. Shrugging his shoulders, Kakashi walked over to stand beside the three teenagers. Shaking her head to regain her composure, Tsunade cleared her throat out before explaining what she had called them for. "Ahem, now you four are probably wondering why I called you on such short notice, right?" she asked, earning a nod from the four. "Well then, allow me to explain. I've received another rescue mission request from Takigakure." Zombina's eyes went wide at hearing this. Was the person that needed to be rescued who she thought it was? It appears that their Jinchuriki has been kidnapped by the Akatsuki, the very same organization that vows to collect all the containers of the tailed beasts to use for their own gain. "Ah, I knew it. It's Fu," Zombina thought in excitement. "Whoa, a fellow Jinchuriki. I'm definitely taking this mission then," Naruto thought with a smirk. "We've received a report from the R Border Patrol that the Akatsuki and the missing girl have been sighted heading into the Land of Rivers. This report was an hour ago, so there's no denying that's where they are right now. Tsunade continued. I presume you want us to leave right now, Lady Tsunade? Kakashi asked. Yes, that's all I wanted to say to you guy. But before you go, Naruto. Yes, Ba-chan. As of now you are a Jonin. Don't argue with me, brat, just accept it. Tsunade shouted. Oh yeah, I'm a Jonin. Woo. One step closer to Hokage. Naruto shouted in pure glee. Shizune then walked over and handed him his Jonin vest. Putting it on, Naruto was striking poses in front of everyone for his new vest. Zombina and Kuratsuchi was giggling at their boyfriend's antics. Wow, Naruto, you look really hot in that vest, it makes me wet. Kuratsuchi purred. Tell me about it, I'd like to know what a strong Jonin like you is capable of in bed. Zombina added before the two girls walk over and grab his crotch and respectively. Tsunade and Kakashi were staring at the hormonal teens with slack-jawed expressions. Who knew they were bold enough to act like that in a public space? Shizune though was staring at them jealously. Sure, she was part of the harem, but it's been about roughly 2 weeks since she was last pounded by Naruto. God, did she miss that huge of his. Kakashi wasn't doing any better than Shizune. For a 28-year-old he was still a virgin and had absolutely no game whatsoever. No way. Naruto is 12 years younger and gets more than me. Dismissed. Tsunade said, and with that the four shinobi leave the room to begin their mission. Sighing in relief, Tsunade then turned to face Harastant. So, how was Naruto? She questioned. Shizune went bloody red from this and began stuttering incoherent sentences. He's the best any girl could ask for. She said, maybe you can have some of that glorious meat too, Lady Tsunade. It's been over 30 years since you've gotten a good pounding right. Sighing, Tsunade was ashamed, but she was like 50 years old. The thought of a boy Naruto's age felt wrong to her. Wait, Shizune is 31, so it shouldn't be that bad, right? Maybe Shizune, maybe, but I don't think Naruto would want to my wrinkly. Tsunade said. Nonsense. Naruto would enjoy stuffing you, Lady Tsunade. Trust me on that one. Shizune reassured, patting the cage on the back. Alright then, we'll see, Shizune. Land of Rivers. It's been about 3 hours since our heroes have left Konoha. Here they are now in river country, where the 2 Akatsuki members were reported to be heading for. In front of the 4 shinobi was Pakun, a ninkin Kakashi had summoned to track any suspicious scent. The scent is getting stronger. It won't be long now, guys. Pakun said. Alright, let's pick up the pace, you guys. Kakashi ordered. Right. The 3 teens answered. After about 30 minutes of hopping through trees, the group finally come across a large cave opening. Pakun sniffed the air before he nods in confirmation. There's definitely someone in there and they don't smell friendly at all. The dog inquired. Alright, thank you, Pakun, we'll take it from here. Kakashi said. Don't mention it, call me if you need me again. The dog said before vanishing. The 4 of them then huddled to discuss how they'll handle the rescue. Alright, anyone have a plan we can execute with perfection? Kakashi asked. Well, we don't really know what these Akatsuki guys are packing, like their abilities, or if they have any Kekkei Genkai, so just let me waltz in there and have them attack me. That way I can observe their attacks and figure out how to deal with them. Zombina explained. Honestly, Zombina, I know that there is legitimately no way for you to be killed, you still need to be careful against them. Kuratsuchi said, earning nods from Kakashi and Naruto. Zombina face vaulted at the other kunoichi's comment. Hey, I literally cannot be killed. No matter what you throw at me, I will absolutely not die. Just let me get in there and mess with those pricks. Oh fine then, Bina-chan, you're so hard-headed sometimes, you know that. Naruto said. Alright then, it's settled. Watch me go to work. Zombina declared, cracking her fingers. Wait, before we execute the plan here, I have these mics we can use just in case something happens to you, Zombina. Kakashi said, handing everyone their mics. Good thinking, Kakashi. Kuretsuchi snorted. The team then hop in front of the cave and Zombina entered it alone. The zombie girl walked for a few minutes in the cave before getting to a dead end. The room was lit with torches, and squinting her eyes she spotted two figures wearing robes with red clouds on them, and in between the two figures laid Fu unconscious. "Hey you Akatsuki bastards!" Zombina shouted, getting the attention of Hidan and Kakuzu. "What the? Who's this red-head bitch?" Hidan snarled. Judging by that headband and vest she's a Konoha Chunin to say the least." "Oh well, I'll take her on," Kakazu said. "Nah, let me take this bitch Kakuzu. You just watch and learn from a real pro," Hidan said, stepping in front of his masked partner. "TCH, well alright then, try not to get your kicked again." Kazuku snorted. "Grr, you Kakuzu," Hidan said before flinging his overly large scythe straight at Zombina. Zombina side jumps the attack and flings several kunai straight at Hidan's. The knives embed in his face, making him groan in pain. "Gah, you ruined my face, bitch." Hidan growled in anger before lunging forward. "You're gonna learn not to mess with me and my Jashin." He then takes one of his retractable spears and hurls it at Zombina, and before the undead girl could react, the spear impales her through the shoulder, drawing a large amount of blood. "Just like I planned," she thought as she lands on the ground, clutching her shoulder, pretending to be in severe pain while pulling the spear and tossing it. Pressing the button on her mic, she whispers into it before turning her attention back to the weird masochist. Hidan saw the small trickle of blood forming on Zombina's face and rushes over to pick up his spear. "Ha ha ha ha, I got you right where I want you, girly. Now you will pay for your sins against Jashin." Zombina tried to move in to attack the man, but she stopped in her tracks, unable to move. What's going on?" Hidan then Zombina's blood off from the spear and places a foot on the ground to draw the symbol for Jashin on it. His body then changes its outer appearance, and in a few seconds he looks like Skeletor from Masters of the Universe. HM, ha 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 ha. I hope you're ready for a world of pain, girl, because I'm gonna have some fun with you. Say hello to my curse technique. Dead controlling possessed blood. Hidan shut the up and just finish this. Kakuzu yelled from the sidelines. You shut the up. Hidan shot back, giving his partner the death stare. While those two were busy arguing, we see Kuretsuchi and Naruto sneaking behind Kakuzu. Naruto picks up Fu's unconscious body while Kuretsuchi applies a transformation jutsu, turning into the mint-haired girl. Gah, fine. I'll just end this girl right here, right now. Hidan shouted before raising his spear and repeatedly stabs himself multiple times in the gut. The repeated blows making the zombie girl scream in sheer agony, much to Hidan's pleasure. Haha, I hope you enjoyed the pain, because here comes the coup de grace. Hidan then points his spear at his heart. Seeing this, Zombina feigns fear. Without warning, Hidan then raises the spear and proceeds to impale himself. As the spear goes through his heart, he moans loudly in pain while Zombina tries to scream but couldn't find the energy to do so. Hidan's jutsu then dispels and Zombina collapses backwards on the ground. The zombie girl spewing out blood from her mouth. As he relishes in pleasure from the blow to his heart, Hidan regains his composure and takes a look at the seemingly dead zombie girl. Seeing her lifeless corpse, he laughs maniacally. Feel the pain, girly. Ha ha ha. So how do you like that, Kakuzu? Pretty awesome, isn't it? The Jashinist said, turning to his partner. Eat a. Kakuzu said before turning to look at Fu's body, only for the girl to wake up and launch a punch directed at Kazuku's nose, breaking it with enough power to send the man staggering back. URG. What the? The masked Akati growled, holding his aching nose. What the was that for, girl? Go on one, you masked cunt. Fu snarled. Kakuzu then launches his expendable arms and snares Fu, binding the girl, rendering her immobile. He then reels the hand in where she is pinned against his body, where she looks like she is being held hostage. I'll show you to disrespect your elders, kid. Kakuzu whispered into her ear. Hidan walks over, obviously wanting to draw more blood. Hey, let me do my technique on this kid, who cares about her anyway? No one cares about the Jinchurikis to them. You want to piss off Pain-sama? Then go ahead and piss him off. I'll relish in your death at his hands. Kakuzu spat. What are you talking about? We are Pain-sama's favorites, so he wouldn't give a shit. Oh, and I can't even die, thank you very much. Hidan said. Oh yeah, try him. The two of them then get into another argument, much to Fu's annoyance. The camera then pans to the dead Zombina and closes in on her face. Her frown then turns into a smile. You guys want to borrow my sai? The two Akatsuki then turn around to face the direction from where the voice came and spot Zombina rising up. She then tosses 5 sai straight at the two men and performs a hand seal. Sai Shadow Clone Jutsu. What the? Hidan gasped in shock. The 5 sai then turn into several hundred of them and they all riddle the men's bodies. Kakuzu was quick and quickly spun around to avoid Fu getting hurt. Ow 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 ow. Hidan cried out as he is riddled to the bone with sai while Kakuzu just shrugs off the pain. Zombina laughs at their pain only for Hidan to somehow recover from the onslaught and appear behind her by God knows how, catching her off guard. He then applies a chokehold and gets Zombina's neck in a really strong grip, choking her. You bitch. How did you survive the ritual? Bah. No matter. I'll just squeeze you so hard I'll break your spine. Or stab you. Again. The Jushinist declared before applying more pressure on her neck. Hearing the girl groaning in pain, Hidan then takes his spear and then repeatedly stabs Zombina while also getting the spear into his body as well. Zombina feigns pain while Hidan moans in the pleasure of the spear stabbing him through Zombina. This continued on for 5 minutes before Zombina shoots her head backwards and headbutts him straight mouth, knocking out several teeth. Stumbling back in pain, Hidan spits out blood and some more teeth before Zombina faces him and takes a sigh and goes to lunge forward. Hidan couldn't react in time, and the next thing he knew, the zombie girl thrusted the sai into his head and gave a strong yank with enough force to rip the head off the body. Zombina then opens her mouth wide and munches on the decapitated head, much to Hidan's displeasure. Oh god, not the face. Hidan screamed as Zombina took 3 bites out of his face. After the 3rd bite, Zombina discards the head before holding her severely wounded torso. Okay. That was the most disgusting and foul meat I've ever had the misfortune of tasting. That tasted like burnthole, she said, spitting out the chewed flesh. Oh man, Naruto's going to be working hard to stitch these wounds shut, my poor baby. Hidan's munched up head went wide-eyed. How are you still alive? And what in Jashin's name are you? The decapitated Jushinist asked in what sounded like fear. Because, Zombina said as she turns to face Hidan's head. Unzipping her Chunin vest and undershirt, she reveals her wounded torso to the man only for him to gasp in shock. I'm the liveliest corpse on this planet. Zombina-chan. Fear me, you Akatsuki scum. Kazuku was watching the entire exchange with a deadpan expression. Of course that masochist bastard would underestimate a girl. Serves him right. He mentally sighed. Kakuzu was so annoyed that he didn't have time to react to Fu's upwards kick that struck him dead on the chin with enough force to smash it while also sending him flying away a few feet. URG. What the? Landing on the ground with a thud, Kakuzu holds his sore chin and looks up at the Jinchuriki. You're fast, girl. Fu just sighed before she turned into Kuretsuchi. I can't believe how smelly you bastards are. Smells like 2 avocados, hate ing. The Jonin declared before another figure appears beside her, being Naruto. Naru-kun, how's our Jinchuriki? She's in a safe place. Naruto said before they and Zombina surround Kakuzu. Now it's just you, masked guy. You've got nowhere to go. Kuretsuchi spoke. That's right. You can surrender and come with us peacefully, or what were we going to do again? Zombina asked with a sweat drop. I don't think we've established that. Naruto said. Kakashi then walked into the cave, allowing the 4 to surround Kakuzu completely. Grr. Who are you people? The Akatsuki questioned with an angry tone. I'm glad you asked. We are. Kakashi started as he began spinning like a ballerina. The Konoha 4. he declared as he stopped with his arms somehow extending with a thumbs up. Cricket chirp. That name blows Bakashi. Naruto snorted. Yeah, that name is just. What? Kakuzu added with a sweat drop. Hey, it was the best I got. Kakashi said. Can it you guys? Let's just kill these two wads and head home. Kuretsuchi shouted. Fine. Naruto, do you mind taking care of our masked friend over there? Sure thing, Kakashi. Naruto said as he walks over to the still injured Kakuzu. URG, what are you going to do me, you demon brat? The Akatsuki asked. Oh, just this. Rasenshuriken. Naruto shouted out before flinging a Rasenshuriken at the man. The attack collides with Kakuzu's body and the masked man screams in pure agony as he is literally ripped to shreds by the attack. Kakashi, Zambina and Kuretsuchi were all staring at the display of awesomeness in awe. No way. When did he learn to do that? Thought a very shocked Kakashi. Naru-kun makes me so wet. Kuretsuchi thought with a blush. Such a man with powerful jutsu. Zambina thought. After a few minutes Kakuzu's cries of agony were ceased as the attack subsided and what was left were just a few shredded pieces of the man. Nodding in satisfaction, Kakashi then turns to face Hidan's head, which was busy cursing them out. So, what shall we do about that one? The masked Jonin asked his colleagues. I got this. Kuretsuchi said, walking up to the head. What sticks aren't getting away with this. By the name of Jashin, was all the head said before Kuretsuchi stomped on it, smashing the entire head into pieces of skull, brain matter and blood. Damn, that guy was annoying. What was his name again? Skeletor. Kuretsuchi asked, getting shrugs from the others. The other three just shrugged before exiting the cave. They walk over to the unconscious Fu who was left beside a cluster of trees and grab her before heading off back to Konoha. Konoha General Hospital. That evening. Naruto, Kuretsuchi, Zambina, Kakashi and Tsunade are seen standing beside a resting Fu. The moment they got back with her, they immediately headed towards the hospital and got Fu admitted into a spare room. They've been watching her ever since and she hasn't woken up yet. Man, she's out cold, huh? Naruto asked, breaking the silence. I wager she'd wake up soon. It's just a minor concussion she took from whoever you rescued her from, so it's no big deal. Tsunade yawned. We should be heading home, guys. Let's leave her to rest and we'll check up on her first thing in the morning. Wait, Naruto said, making everyone stop to look at him. What is it, Naruto? Tsunade questioned. Well, she's a fellow Jinchuriki, isn't she? He asked, earning a nod from the Sannin. Would it be okay if I stay here to watch her? Tsunade smiled before walking over to the blonde teen and placing a hand on his shoulder. Sure, Naruto. If that's what you really want, I'll grant your request. Kuretsuchi and Zambina were giggling in the background. Looks like Naruto's got a soft spot for her. Oh yeah, he does. Imagine two Jinchuriki having some psychotic rough demon. Oh man, there goes another girl for his harem, you lucky son of an awesome ninja. Kakashi thought in frustration. Everyone but Naruto left the room. Grabbing a chair, Naruto places it beside the bed and takes a seat. He looks at the girl and damn. She was fine as hell. Wow, that mint hair color is so much better than Sakura's hair. That pink is nasty and I'd pay a guy to claw out my eyes if I ever have to look at it again. Naruto mumbled to himself. About half an hour would go by before Naruto felt sleep starting to take over. He tried to fight the urge, but soon enough he lays his head on the bed beside the girl and snores his off. Next morning, the sun shines through the window and the light reaches the Fu's face, causing her to wake up. The girl groans in pain and rubs her head in pain before she opens her eyes and was surprised at where she was. Where am I? Am I dead? She thought before turning her attention to the sleeping form that was beside her. Who's this guy? Wait. Judging by the headband and Jonin vest, I guess I'm in a hospital in Konoha then. Wait. So this guy must have rescued me from those robed douches. Turning to face the other direction, she spots a table with some bottles of water on it that were left for her the previous night. I am pretty thirsty too, so why not? She reaches for a bottle and loosens the cap and goes to drink through the water bottle faster than Might Guy runs 1,000 laps around the village. So good. I feel refreshed. Her thoughts were interrupted when the blonde guy beside her woke up with a very long and drawn-out yawn. Rubbing his eyes, he was greeted to the sight of the mint-haired girl all awake and seemingly okay. Well, good morning. Naruto bellowed. Good morning. Fu greeted back, trying to hide her nervousness. Naruto moves his head closer to Fu's to where their faces are mere inches away and observes her with wide eyes. Hey, what are you doing? Fu said, trying to hide her blush. Just checking you for any signs on fatigue face-wise, and by the looks of it you're a-okay. Naruto declared with a thumbs up. I'm sure I'm fine. Fu said. So where am I? You're in Konoha General Hospital. Me and my team went after you after we've received a request from that leader in Tokigakure that you were kidnapped by the Akatsuki. When I found out why you were kidnapped, I wanted to risk everything I have to get you. The blonde explained. Why? You came after me even if I'm just a complete stranger? Fu asked with a blush. Yes, you're a fellow ninja, and in my book any ninja, no matter what village you're from, we all share the same goal, which is to protect our villages. Shinobi help others no matter where they come from. Is there any other reason beside that? You're a Jinchuriki and I couldn't let a fellow Jinchuriki be kidnapped like that, or worse, killed. Naruto said as he places high hand on Fu's. Fu was flustered by what Naruto was saying to her, then she realized what he said. Wait, you're a Jinchuriki too? Yeah, as a result I was hated by most of the village for my whole life. Villagers would chase me, beat me within an inch of my life and leave me for dead. The only person who truly cared about me was Old Man Hokage. Looking at the boy with teary eyes, Fu couldn't help but embrace the blonde in a tight hug. I'm the same way. She began sobbing. I'm sorry that happened to you. I dealt with the same thing back in Taki, and the only person who truly cared was Shibuki, our village leader. All Naruto did was smile before returning the embrace. Reaching his hand up, he rubs the back of her head and spoke words of encouragement. Don't let those pricks who gave you shit put you down. Use it to make yourself a better person, and when you become a better person, you're not what they perceive you to be. Show them that you're you and not some demon. Fu then jumped out of the bed and tackled Naruto to the ground and begins sobbing into his chest. Smiling, Naruto made no attempt to push the girl off, gently rubbed her back. The two of them laying there on the floor hugging. The moment was interrupted, however, when the door to the room opened and in walked Tsunade and Shizune. Seeing the two teenagers laying there, Tsunade had a perverted grin on her face while Shizune was jealous because she hadn't had with Naruto for a few weeks. Damn it. She's probably next. Shizune thought with a sweat drop. Are you two youngsters going to lay there all day? We can leave you alone for a few hours if you'd like. Tsunade said. Hearing the Sanin's words, the two of them separate, rubbing the back of their heads while laughing nervously. Oh hey Ba-chan. Didn't know you and Shizune-chan were here. Naruto said, trying to kill the awkward situation he and Fu were in. Just coming here to check on Fu's condition, and judging by the looks of it she seems good. Tsunade inquired. Why yes ma'am. Fu said. Alright then, if you believe you are 100% better then you can go. Oh, and call me Lady Tsunade because I'm this village's Hokage. Oh crap. Thank you Lady Tsunade. Fu said, bowing to show respect. Now young lady, no need for that. So you're from Tokigakure? Tsunade asked, getting a nod from the Jinchuriki. Alright, I know that you're the container of Chome, and well I'm assuming you get treated like crap from the villagers back home, am I right? Yes. Fu answered shyly. Then I hereby make you a chunin of Konohagakure. I've already completed your papers this morning, so I'll send you your chunin vest later. Fu ran up to the Sanin and enveloped her in a hug. Thank you Tsunade-sama. Smiling at the girl's happiness, she returns the hug. It's alright Fu, I'm sure you will love it here. Hey Ba-chan, can I show Fu around the village? Naruto asked. Why of course Naruto, that's if Fu is okay with it, that is. she said, giving the girl a knowing look. By the way, you can live in the apartment 2 doors from his. Looking at Tsunade and then Naruto, she gives the blonde Jinchuriki a warm smile. Of course, come on Naruto, show me around. Thanks Tsunade-sama. Fu said, grabbing the blonde by his hand and her red bag and practically drags him out of the room and out the hospital. Tsunade just giggled at their antics. Oh boy, I can't wait to be the grandmother of the baby of 2 Jinchuriki. I haven't had his glorious in a few weeks. I need it before I'm farther along. Shizune sighed before they walk out of the room. Streets of Konoha. After spending the whole day walking around the village and showing her all the good eateries, Naruto decided to take her to Ichiraku Ramen's to have dinner before taking her to her apartment, which was 2 doors down from Naruto's. Fu had really started to like the blonde teenager throughout the entire day they've spent, and hell, she was definitely falling for the bastard. Now here they are just having a ramen eating contest and have already gone through almost 100 bowls, and to Naruto's surprise, Fu was leaving him in the dust. Wow, this ramen is so good. Way better than the ones in Takigakure. Fu declared as she finishes a bowl. Tell me about it. Old man here makes easily the best ramen in the entire world. Naruto said as he starts another bowl. I know I make the best. Tsuki chuckled before placing over 3 more bowls in front of them. Eat up. For another half hour the two of them continued to gobble so much ramen that Tsuki was literally going to be even more richer than Naruto. Thanks old man. See you next time. Thank you very much for the food. See you later kiddos. What a cute couple, hehehehe. Tsuki giggled to himself with a very perverted grin. However, from the shadows in the back room we see Ayame watching the 2 teens walk away. No, he has another girl. I need to tell him. She thought before walking away. Fu's apartment. After eating ramen, Naruto decided to take Fu out to buy some clothes since she left everything back in Takigakure. Sadly for Naruto, he was holding over 10 bags, but he didn't complain. Walking up to Fu's door, she spots a letter taped to the wall. Reading it, she smiles before taking the key which was included with the letter and unlocks the door. Come in Naruto. Fu ordered. URG, okay. Naruto said, trying to balance the bags in his arms. You can set the bags down on the table, Naruto. Walking over to the table, Naruto proceeds to place all the bags neatly on the table. Turning to face the mint-haired girl, he sees her placing her red bag on the couch. His eyes, however, made their way down to her butt.